Why?
Madison and North?
What's the order of these?
There hasn't been one there for years.
Yeah, there has.
Madison and North?
High Street, or where the high school, the kids, went,
For Walters?
yes.
Sidewalk ramps. Stantec.
We can check, but I don't think so.
Yeah, there is, but there isn't today. That's one thing we did not take out of the budget.
Correct, we have not changed that.
Okay, but he wasn't there today.
Okay, all I can do is ask Jim. Jim has to be at school board tonight, so Scott may be here. I'll ask him.
All right.
And there was a lot of kids.
Call to order the Marshall City Council special meeting for Monday, April 22nd, 2019. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Karen.
Here.
Councilmember Gates. Councilmember McNeil.
Here.
Councilmember Metzger.
Here.
Councilmember Traver. Councilmember Underhill.
Here.
Councilmember Wolfersberger.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Seek a motion to dismiss the missing council members this evening.
So moved.
Support. All right, we will start with public comment on agenda items. Anyone wishing to address the council will give their name for the record.
Don't even.
Hearing none, we will move on to item 5A under reports and recommendations, Michigan Avenue Water Main Project, and Kristen will be here to talk with us about this one.
That will be me?
Yes.
Surprise. Thank you all very much for making this special meeting to help accommodate this project. As you know, we've been working very feverishly on getting design done for the water main project on Michigan Avenue. Last week we received bids actually on the 12th we received bids from contractors. We received 2 bids for that project. These are out of order, sorry. One from Bailey Excavating and the other from Hunter Prell. Our engineering estimate on this project was $1.2 million. The projects came in slightly higher than that at $1.4. We're seeing this across the state. We've done some checking, and a lot of bids are coming in with low amounts of bidders and high bid amounts. I guess statewide there's just a lot of work. We did hear during the bidding process that subcontractors were difficult to find for this work. So what we're doing is we're recommending award of this contract to Bailey Excavating, who we have worked with in the past. They did the Jefferson Madison project in 2015 quite successfully to the tune of $1.4 million plus change, with some contingencies to bring it up to $1.56 million. That'll allow us to make changes in the field as we deem them necessary as we're digging and finding things underground. Their anticipation is to start a week from today, on Monday, assuming everything here is awarded for this contract. They've asked to start early because they're concerned about timing and just want to make sure that we get it done in time for MDOT's paving project to start on time.
Did they say how long that would take?
We had 14 weeks in the bid documents, so they've added, it'll be an additional 2 weeks. Right now, I will have a schedule from them on Wednesday when we do a pre-construction meeting, and I will publish that. I'm thinking it'll probably take every bit of all 14 weeks. You're working in a downtown area with a lot of underground stuff and a lot of, it was originally a water main project and that was it. And now it's water main, electrical conduit, bump outs, sidewalk ADA ramps. It blossomed into a much larger project throughout the process with MDOT. So
Have we worked with them before? Just curious.
we did in 2015 on the Jefferson Street and the Madison Street reconstructions. They're the company that did the patio that's adjacent to Grand River Brewing and that whole reconstruction project.
Okay.
So I'm confident that they're well versed in doing this kind of work, and we've
Okay.
worked with them successfully. There's 2 Bailey Excavatings. This company is out of Jackson.
Right.
Any other questions for Kristen? So I will go ahead and seek a motion to approve the bid from Bailey Excavating of Jackson, Michigan in the amount of $1,416,615.87, with an additional contingency amount of $143,384.13 for a total of $1,560,000 for the Michigan Avenue Water Main project, along with the amendment to the fiscal year 2019 budget by the amount of $1,560,000.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? I'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Member Underhill?
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger?
Yes.
Mayor Karen?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us to item 5B, MDOT contracts, Michigan Avenue sidewalk ramps and parking area paving.
Okay, thank you again. As I alluded to in the conversation on the water main project, during the process of working with consumers, MDOT, and the city to coordinate our 3 projects through the downtown area, it became very apparent that in order to facilitate a smoother schedule and try to minimize disruptions to the downtown businesses, to take on a portion of MDOT's work in the way of completing their sidewalk ramp work. As we were going to be digging by and having to rehabilitate the same areas that they were going to be digging up months later, or trying to do while we were doing the water main, it became apparent that coordinating these projects wasn't going to work if we did them as 2 separate entities. So, in what I have never seen happen before, MDOT basically handed the city the MDOT sidewalk work and is going to compensate the city for that work, a portion of the work. What the city is paying for in this contract versus what MDOT's paying for is MDOT is paying for what they would have had to do by federal requirements for ADA, for the ADA ramp upgrades. The city is paying the difference for the bump out work. So we evaluated pretty much every corner throughout the city, MDOT and I, and said, okay, we feel like your portion of this work is going to be $273,000, and that includes some work for the construction administration that we have to do, and the traffic control that has to be installed, because we have to do it for the water main anyway, but they're paying for a small portion of that, kind of in a percentage. So what MDOT has agreed to do by this contract is to pay the city of Marshall $273,000 plus change for the work that we're doing for them. They completed all the design with their consultants. We married it with our project and bid it all under one, so that 1.4 covers the cost of the sidewalk work. They're just reimbursing us for this work. In addition to that, when MDOT mills and resurfaces in downtown areas, they do not mill and resurface the parking areas. So as part of their project, they will be milling and resurfacing the parking areas, so we'll have a continuous pavement across the width. So we will be then reimbursing them $60,000 and change for that work. They will charge us what actually they put down and mill off. So that's somewhere around the tune of $60,000. But they've given it to us in 2 separate contracts. So this proposal is written in two separate contracts. They will be reimbursing us $273,000. We will then be paying them something in the tune of $60,000 for the paving of the parking lanes as part of their project. So I'm recommending that we accept these 2 MDOT contracts and the resolutions for those to be returned back to MDOT for those cost agreements.
Why do they exclude the parking?
Because it's not part of the travel lane. MDOT's money is focused on travel and moving traffic. So once you get outside of those, they do not cover parking lanes because that's a benefit only to the city, not a benefit to MDOT traveled roads.
So I'm just thinking back to when we had the horse and carriage, and it was such a concern about having in that parking space a tent for that horse. And we were told that MDOT wouldn't let us.
MDOT never said we couldn't have a horse downtown.
No, a tent over the horse.
Oh, because you're in the street, you're within the pavement. You can't have a structure in a street.
Well, the parking lane, well, for this purpose, they don't consider it their road because it's not moving traffic. It is still their right-of-way. Face of building to face of building is still their right-of-way. And it does at times create confusion, but they have the last say on anything from building face to building face because it's within their jurisdictional right-of-way. So the best way to say is sometimes it just depends on personnel sometimes as to how much they administer and how much they don't administer. But in this case, for money-wise, they don't pay for the parking lanes.
Kristen, do you have any concern on the $60,600 as in, do they ever offer like a not to exceed amount? Or, you know, once it happens, are you expecting that that will fall close to what that number is? Or?
Both of these numbers are estimates,
Right.
and both of these are unit price contracts. So we will pay what they measure that we are due to pay them.
Sure.
These estimates tend to be on the high side, but I would envision would be somewhere right around 60,000.
Okay.
They're only taking 2 inches off, or actually probably less than 2 inches, and putting it all right back on.
Okay.
So it's going to be, they'll know the square yardage of what they take off when they put it back on.
We probably lost 1.5 inches of it already, so they won't have to know too much of it off of there.
And then on our side, they were a little bit less amenable to doing a unit price on the sidewalk work. I envision that will probably be less than the 273, but they're going to be paying us 273. I have talked with them that if that number were to be much higher, I will be going back to them, but we'd have to show proof as to why. I don't really see, with our quantities, I think we're okay. I think we ended up pretty equal in that whole deal.
Yeah, you felt that was a fair compromise, all right.
This has never, that I know, ever been done by MDOT. So I have to give kudos to MDOT for working with us in this regard,
Yeah,
to the
it's-
benefit of the downtown.
Right, it's not something we were expecting by taking on this project, so it's certainly a nice addition.
You made a comment that they had looked at the sidewalk ramps citywide?
I meant within the project
Oh,
limits.
okay. That's just curious how big this was going to get.
Well, their project is slightly longer than ours. They're paving from Sycamore all the way to Marshall. So we're doing ADA ramps. Sycamore, what's the next road west or east of Sycamore?
Parkview.
Parkview, sorry, and then Park and Grand before our bump outs start. So we are going to be completing work there, which is kind of outside the limits of our project. So when I said citywide, within their jurisdiction, within their limits of their project, we're working.
Can I ask, in the write-up, it mentions a total cost for the bump outs and the ramps of $399,000.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where the delta is? So I see that MDOT covers the 273, then we reimburse an additional 60,000. Where is the rest of that?
It's within the it's within the 1.4 million that we approved for Bailey's work.
Okay.
So that's already in that contract. And what
Got
we're intending to do is take the 273, because we're doing this all out of the water fund or the water bond. We're reimbursing the water department with the 273.
Got it.
Now, typically it would go into the streets fund, but because of the fact that we're paying for it out of water,
Right.
we're reimbursing them for that.
Okay.
The 60,000 will be paid out of the streets budget, the major street fund.
Any other questions for Kristen on this?
Is it clear as mud? Because it's like, I do this every day, so it all makes sense to me.
All right, so we will seek a motion to approve the attached resolutions and authorize the city clerk to sign MDOT contract number 19-5162 for job number 204-205 CON-Michigan Avenue sidewalk ramp construction along Michigan Avenue, and accept compensation to the city of $273,100 and MDOT contract 19-5163 for job number 204-205 CON-Michigan Avenue parking bay construction for the associated cost of $60,600.
So moved.
Support. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Metzger,
Yes.
Member Underhill,
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger,
Yes.
Mayor Karen,
Yes.
Member Gates,
Yes.
Member McNeil.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us on to item 5C, professional engineering services with Stantec Consulting. With Kristen.
No, 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 no.
So, as part of the water main project, we had hired Stantec Consulting back early September of last year to do the design of the water main project. Because of the marrying of these projects, and because of the expanded scope of our work, Stantec had some design overruns. When I wrote this report last week, they had proposed some overruns to the tune of about $30,000, to which I did not necessarily agree. I had a meeting with Stantec on Thursday, and they have reevaluated the work that they did extra. And part of the extras were, MDOT had hired a different consultant to do their portion of the work. We had Stantec, so we had to take that consultant's documents, put it in with our documents, make it a cohesive document for bidding. So Stantec did a little bit of extra work, in addition to coordinating our water main project with all that concrete work. So there was a lot of extra work and a lot of extra time. After talking with them and going through and evaluating all this, they have since today come back with extras to the tune, instead of $30,000, which I believe it says in the second or third paragraph, $19,700.
So in the recommendation, it's only 19,700.
Instead of 30,000, it will now be 19,700. I am awaiting that actual physical document from them, but verbally, that's what they talked with me today about, and I agreed to verbally upon your approval. Additionally,
Do you think that's fair?
yes, yes. If you take the cost of the bids for the project, and we have broken it out, water main and sidewalks, their design proposal for the water main work was about 5% of that cost. This aligns with the 5% for the design, for the bump out. So I'm very comfortable that this is fair. In addition, when we first originally bid this, we had bid it as a part-time oversight from assistance from Stantec. As this grew, and as workloads across the city have changed, and we have a lot of other projects, we're not physically capable with current staff to be able to manage this project sufficiently. In addition, because it's in the downtown district, Aaron was always, our water superintendent was always wanting full-time coverage. I was holding him back. I've seen the light now, and we've decided that having full-time coverage out there would be both beneficial to all the businesses down there, to have a person that's there during the entire project that they can contact if need be, and as a face of the project, as well as assisting city staff. There's a lot that's going to be going on. There's a lot of coordination that needs to happen between the concrete work and the water main work. So having somebody there this is their total job for the entire duration of the project is very helpful, and I think will be helpful to the businesses. I talked with them Thursday and told them I had every expectation that they're going to go in, get familiar with all the business owners, understand who those people are, so that when those business owners need to ask a question, they can come out and do so. And if they don't answer it, then obviously come to city staff. So in doing that, we've changed the proposal and are asking for an increase in the construction oversight portion of this project, not to exceed $167,200 from the original amount of $50,000 for part-time construction.
Do you think that's kind of a lot for someone's
It's
salary?
about 14% of a construction project, and that's what you see. Usually about 10 to 14% of what the bid price is. Keep in mind, this is a not-to-exceed number. If they don't work the hours, they're not going to get paid for it. This is just the cap. In talking with them, they've put in some administration hours and some other hours just for safe kind of placeholders that I don't anticipate they'll use.
And this is somebody from Stantec who's going to be
Yes.
taking that role.
Were they going to be, like, have their little office or,
They'll just basically work out of a truck on the construction site.
okay?
So they will be out there every day that the contractor's out there. Right now, we've allowed the contractors to be working Monday through Saturday, and they will be here on Saturday. They'll also be here the hours that the contractor works. Assuming the contractor works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., he'll be here the entire time.
Okay.
That's why this number's a little high. If the contractor doesn't work 7 to 7, we're not paying Stantec 7 to 7. We're paying them for the hours they're here. Plus, there's paperwork in the office, there's shop drawing reviews that need to be done. All of those things are being handled by Stantec to help city staff.
Kristen, you want to also add about the electrical, you didn't mention the electrical conduits that we're doing
Oh, yeah.
as part of this design
Oh.
that Stantec did.
Yeah, as part of the additional design, Stantec did, on my request, go ahead and design all the conduits and make sure that we had everything correct for all the eventual lighting of the trees downtown. So that was an additional scope of work that wasn't in their original as well. It's part of that additional $19,000.
And we're going to put those conduits in, right?
Yes, we're basically going to put conduit and wiring in, and it'll all be functional with a receptacle at the base of the tree.
So once that is done and the street is complete, we can light the trees?
Yes,
Well, you need lights in the trees.
Oh, I know, but we can light the trees, right?
yes.
Well, yes. You have the ability to light the trees when we're done in August.
Yahoo!
Also on that note, that cost for those electric conduits are around $75,000. We received a very gracious grant from the Cronin Foundation for $75,000 to
Oh
pay
my
for
gosh.
this.
That is amazing.
very
We
cool.
need a thank you letter to them.
Oh, I just got the letter from them today, and, yeah, they're very gracious to the city. So by doing this, it's really not costing our citizens and customers that cost. So that was very nice that they did that.
That is amazing.
And they're, right now, we are working with MEDA to find a way to buy lights for the 48 trees. And we had a meeting today, our purchasing agent and MEDA staff, to look at some options of, and we're not ready to announce anything at this time, but we're looking at a way to get all those new lights funded.
Now, if we're doing all this work, why are you allowing Maida to take on the project?
Because we don't have the time to do a fundraiser.
We don't even know how much the lights are.
We do.
How much are they?
I can tell you how much per strand. They're LED lights, but we don't know how many strands yet, and that's what we're working on, actually. We have one tree that has a few strands on it in front of handle and hinge, and we're going to be putting some more to see, so we're not ready to say how much it would cost. It's an estimate right now. We just met today on this, so
And what about the color?
they will be white.
Again, why are we giving that to Maida?
It's just the staff time to go out and raise the money, and city staff just does not have the time to run a campaign if we're looking for donations.
I would hope they'd reconsider the white lights.
To what?
Amberish color, something soothing. White is not soothing.
Well, yeah, there are different tones of white. Because we did that, one other, Matt Davis actually helped us a couple years ago, and we had different tones, but
I'd rather see a yellowish tint personally.
The warm white.
Yes,
Yeah, LEDs can be a little strident when you get
Yeah.
this super white. but
Yeah.
That's a good thing to think
when
about.
I say white, they're not going to be colored lights. They're going to be all monotone of some tone.
Shade of,
So,
yes.
we have not, bought anything yet, and that's just in the process of trying to figure out what we're going to land up doing. Because these won't be put up until probably September. Because that's about when the project is turned on, then we'll have lights, and then we were working with MEDA today to figure out, maybe we have a lighting event once the pavement's all done, a celebration, the project's all done, trees are lit, welcome to our new downtown.
who's going to hang the lights?
Streets Department.
So, let me just see.
See, Ed's quiet out there, so.
You owe me one.
I'm totally confused.
I know we've got a number of summer events that are scheduled as well downtown. Are we coordinating with those agencies?
Yes, we are. Yeah, the only events that the water main project are going to be impacting are the Hospitality Classic, which is a Saturday-only event, Blues Fest, which is a weekend event. And that's all been in the contract documents that they need to, what the conditions are for each of those events.
Okay.
The 4th of July event, and that's it. We should be done before home tour. MDOT won't be starting their paving until the Monday after home tour. So there's other small events we can't, there's too many for us to deal with, but those are the big ones. So we're dealing with them.
I've talked to the.
Oh, Memorial Day Parade, I
Yeah,
apologize.
Memorial
I
Day
forgot that
Parade, I
one.
talked to the Corvette Club, and they've been running 3 wide versus they used to run 4 wide. They're running 3 wide, and they'll basically have the parking lane up on the north or right along there, so they should have no trouble running 3 wide through the downtown. I'm in contact with her that if there's any change, we'll let her know.
I just want to rewind for a second to the contract point person for the construction, and I think it's a good idea to have somebody like that. I just wanted to make sure that, just hear a little bit more about what you're envisioning. You mentioned him going like door to door to the businesses, but my hope would be that it's like, we're getting our money's worth out of this person by, his cell phone number is on the Facebook page, and, just really so that all these people can easily get in touch with him, the
Won't be
business
doing
owners.
that, because
No,
I do
okay.
not want that, all the city staff, the number and the contact information will be city staff. This person's
Okay,
job
that's fine.
is to act as basically our field contract administrator to administer our contract.
Okay,
The communication stuff over and above is to coordinate all the work.
okay.
So all the numbers for contacts will be city staff and
Okay.
all our city numbers.
I'm just making sure that the business owners downtown know who their
Yeah.
point person is.
We are going to
specifically.
continue the notification process that we've been using with Consumers Energy with our projects as well. We're just going to expand that. We've been getting, and I've talked with the contractor last week about, I'm going to expect updates every Friday. We're going to be putting them out on the Facebook page, the web page, and then doing a blast downtown like we've been doing for consumers. I've been receiving feedback that seems to be working and
Okay.
people are getting the information. And we'll be continuing to do that. So either Aaron or myself will be the main contact person if there's problems. I just want those, I've done projects of this scope before, and having a person that those people know in case there's an emergency or come out and say, all of a sudden my water's shut off, that, they can come outside and catch that person. But he's going to be busy also administrating, helping us with legwork. So I don't want to necessarily, I will ask them if he minds having a cell phone number out there, but until I have a conversation with him, I don't want to commit to that.
Well, yeah, and again, if that's not the best thing, for city staff to have it that way, I just want to make sure that there's not just like, 10 people out there, but I don't really know what's going on,
Well, that's why if Mark goes out and introduces himself, those people, when they walk out their front door and they look up and down the street, they're not, because a lot of times, and this is just through experience, a lot of times people come out and they grab one of the laborers and they tell them something, well, that never
Yeah.
makes it to anybody.
Right.
So by Mark going in and introducing himself, say, hey, if you have an issue, come see me, make sure you catch me, or one of the project foremen, because people will just grab the first person in a yellow vest they see,
Yeah.
and that doesn't always end up back to the proper people.
Yeah.
But I will also say, part of the reason we don't, a lot of us work off our personal cell phone,
Yeah.
and those people will call you on Sunday mornings, and there's nothing you can do. And it's not fair to my staff to have them be on call 24/7, 365.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
So I don't want, like I say, I don't want to commit Stantec, because if he's using his personal cell phone per his
Sure.
business owner, I don't want to give it away, because they will call on the weekends
I'm sure.
for sometimes not so appropriate reasons, so.
Yeah.
Kristen, when you're doing all this road work, are you keeping the ambulance authority up to date too? I know they've had some concerns about rerouting.
If there's a road closure,
We do.
911 and all
Yeah.
the agencies are notified.
They are, but in this case, we're not really closing any roads that are going to be substantial to the ambulance service. A lot of
Kalamazoo?
times, Kalamazoo is a different entity.
Right,
A
but
lot of times,
I said roads
a
anyway.
lot of times, the police and fire department will help me out and notify them, or I'll ask them to send it out, because I don't have their contact information, but we do keep them up to date. We usually notify the schools for the school buses, for the ambulance, and we try to catch the adjacent townships. A lot of times, we send these out all staff, which then helps us disseminate this information outside of the city as well. So we have staff that are on like the Fredonia Township Fire Department that get the information so that they know to help share that with their departments.
Okay. From our conversation, it didn't sound like Mark was getting communication, so maybe he is.
Well, the Kalamazoo project is kind of an anomaly, but the downtown, there's still plenty of, we're only closing one lane, so there's nothing that would require them to reroute anywhere.
Well, that he'd probably like to know, because they're already looking at definite reroutes.
Oh, okay. I'll get his contact information and get in contact with him.
Yeah, because they've got all sorts of different angles planned out.
Okay.
I do have just one more point of clarification. So we're adding to the 50,000 that was already approved.
Right.
I'm just curious, the math would be, so were they anticipating only a 10-hour a week or a 10-hour commitment before, and now and that's quadrupling?
Yes.
Okay.
We went from, I think it was 2 days a week, or no, actually it was 20 hours a week, or 5 4-hour days, 20 hours a week, to 6 12-hour days. Because our contractor's schedule that we've allowed him in his bidding is 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
In all rights, I don't expect him to work 7 to 7 on a Saturday, because even he has said the effectiveness of his crew goes away, and he won't work much past 12 hours in any given day. Plus, you'll have rain delays that those guys won't be here, so
Right.
that's why the numbers are not to exceed, but yes, the hours went up substantially.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for Kristen? All right, so I will seek a motion to approve the increased cost from Stantec Consulting of Ann Arbor in the amount not to exceed $19,700 for additional design services, and to increase the previously proposed part-time project oversight not to exceed the amount of $50,600 to a full-time project oversight for an increased amount of $167,200 for a not to exceed total of $217,800.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill?
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger?
Yes.
Mayor Karen?
Yes.
Member Gates?
Yes.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us to item 5D, MDOT contract for rehabilitate runway airfield marking.
Just because I wanted to throw something else at you. This contract came in late last week, so we added it to this agenda. Last year, we had a contract approval, you may or may not remember, for crack filling and pavement marking at the airport. Because of the weather and the early onset of cold weather last year, they weren't able to get the pavement marking done. It just so happened to be end of the contract year for paint marking at MDOT, so they canceled the remainder part of the project. They got the crack sealing done, they didn't do the pavement marking. So they canceled all that contract and are now just asking for the pavement marking portion of the contract under what was a renegotiated contract, extended contract with MDOT. So this is work that had already been approved, that we're just going through the motions on a new contract for the pavement marking. So what we're asking for is, this was already budgeted, the additional $550 of shared expenses for an $11,000 pavement marking at the airport, which would be pretty much everything on the pavement at the airport. And they will complete this work probably this spring, since it was a late year project last year. So we're just asking for approval of those contracts by the city clerk in the resolution.
Any questions?
Nope.
All right, I'll seek a motion to approve the resolution and authorize the city clerk to sign MDOT contract number FM 84-00-C52, project number B-26-00-1119 for a rehabilitate runway airfield paint marking.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That moves us on to public comment on agenda items. Anyone wish to comment?
Should be
Non-agenda
non-agenda
items?
items.
Non-agenda, non-agenda?
All right, hearing none, we will move on to council and staff communications. Anything from council?
I have a question. Sorry, Kristen. Last week, I forgot to mention or ask about it. In the consent agenda, there was an issue about some paving that was going to be done here shortly, or scheduled to be done, and one of them said Madison. Is that right? Avenue?
That was in the grant request we were making to
Oh.
MDOT.
Okay, yes, we have applied for, MDOT just this year opened up another grant in the Economic Development Fund, a B grant, which is for any municipality under 10,000. What I did was I went through and unheard of, MDOT's kind of going outside the box, they're allowing local street paving in this grant request, non-federal aid eligible roads. So what I did was I went through and looked at some local streets that needed work, in addition to streets that they may consider as main thoroughfares. So in that, I proposed, and there are four, I can't remember right off the top of my head, 4 different grant proposals that I put in. One is for the complete reconstruction of Leggett down here off of South Kalamazoo, which really needs to be reconstructed. One was the paving of Madison Avenue from North Drive all the way down to where we completed the work in 2015 at Forest.
From North Drive to...
Forest. We did a reconstruction in 15 from Forest down to Prospect. And the reason I picked that is because it is an economic development fund, so I was trying to find thoroughfares that needed work, that connected things of importance, like the high school north of town down to the hospital, because that's a pretty main thoroughfare that gets utilized. And then I went and looked at, we have a project on Prospect to do a water main reconstruct because they wanted to marry utility work with paving work. So 2 blocks of Prospect from Kalamazoo to Mulberry. And then the fourth project is some of the oldest pavement in the city on Alcott and Grand Court. Hobart, thank you. So I had another road in my head. But in that area, and those pavements, best records I can find will probably put it in the 40s. I don't know if they're really that old, but they're pretty bad.
Are they that bad?
They are that bad.
Okay.
So I picked, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I could pick any street anywhere, but I was trying to pick streets that really, really needed it, and that we, in the local street fund, they're matching 50-50. So if we were to get all of the projects, it'd be about a $600,000-700,000 project.
When do you hear that?
They are making announcements in May. We're asking for grants for 2019 work and 2020 work. I applied for 2020 work because we're so busy right now I couldn't get a project done in 2019. So because of the fact that there's some stipulations on timing to get 2019 projects done, they're going to make a decision on the 19 and 20 work in the middle of May. So we should be hearing soon. And I'm hoping if we get a couple of those. The reconstruct down here at Liggett is an industrial area and one that should appeal to them. The others, the utility one might appeal to them. It's just kind of how many people applied. I can't remember how many communities are eligible, but it was only 400? No, was it 400?
How do you become eligible?
Under 10,000 population. So, and this was a brand new, I think it just rolled out in January. And I want to say, it might be 100, 150 was one number that stuck in my head, Tom. That seems a little low to me, but.
I don't know if there was a question, Nick, that you mentioned
Well,
that. So
I was wondering, because we did do major work on Madison.
you're south of Forest.
South of there. Yeah.
Right, and she clarified it by, so the question is, yes, that was it.
Oh, she's minor. The other thing that was, now that we look back, because I always ask Kristen, well, why don't we do it for 19? But what we're seeing for bids and contractors and everybody trying to make up for the lockout in 18, I think prices are going to be tremendously high for the rest of 19. So 20, people will now take a breather, and hopefully the prices will be a little more reasonable, and we'll have more contractors. So
If we get awarded this money, we can bid this job in November, December, which usually will be more favorable prices because contractors like to get jobs on the books. And they'll start as soon as April 15th, kind of like we're doing on Hill Road and Wooded Lane in that area. They started milling today.
Did they?
They did. They'll be done milling tomorrow, and they'll have at least the base course of asphalt on by the end of the week. So, assuming everything goes correct and we don't get any rain, we could be done as early
Thursday.
as late next week.
Tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it's April.
With the consumers work, like all the new hookups, they did put the gravel down. Is that going to be changed? Do you know? If it's like right outside, all the sidewalks. Will
They did put gravel down, or
it's gravel to replace where there was concrete.
They're gonna have to do some restoration. They're just doing. There's different crews that do different aspects of the work. They did not anticipate doing open cut work, consumers. They had every intention of directionally drilling all this gas main in, but what they found is because of all the electrical conduits and other things in those alleys, they're having difficulty doing that. So it's become quicker and more efficient for them to open cut and just basically thread their gas line in around everything. So they'll gravel it, and then they'll come back and do some restoration patching.
Okay, I was thinking about the thing in the winter time, just throwing everywhere.
Yeah, no, they will do that.
Okay.
What they'll do is they'll get a bunch of it gravelled, and they'll come back and have a contractor come in, dig that out, and start patching asphalt.
yeah, I think in the update that we got from the gas company, they actually had a week in there that they were going to start
Change
doing
it out.
restoration work on the asphalt.
Okay.
Because you'll see the same thing with our work. We'll put the water main in, we'll backfill with gravel, and then what they'll do is once they get a large portion of that, they'll mobilize in a restoration contractor to do the restoration patching. Now, we're required by MDOT to provide an actual definitive path at the crosswalks for folks a hard surface crosswalk that won't be gravel. And you'll see that go in when the trench goes by. But then we'll come in and do the same sort of thing. It's very normal type work.
Any other council communication?
I just wanted to say thank you, Ed.
Thank you for
You gotta thank you, Ed. Staff?
We do have something, I'm going to pass out, there's a packet for everybody here. This is on the airport terminal. Bids came in, and I'm going to let Kristen really talk about this. This is not an action item for tonight. This is something that we'd like to see where, oops, okay. If you want to leave one for Ryan, I'll get that to him. That we just need some guidance and on what you want to do, and then we can do some more research, but we'd like to have this on your May 6th agenda, but we'd like to at least, is there some guidance that we can guide our consultants and on what to do? So, Chris. Yeah, so
Well,
Kristen,
let me go
ahead.
through it.
Yeah.
So Friday, we received bids on the airport terminal project. We had many more than 2 people take out packages, kind of anticipated more than just 2 bids, but at the end of the day, we only had 2 bidders that put in prices. On the options sheet, you can see that our engineer's estimate was $705,000. 2 companies bid, Elite Company out of Kalamazoo and Calward Group out of Kalamazoo, both of which are $200,000+ over what our engineer's estimate was for this building project. I talked with our consultant this morning. He reached out to the low bidder and asked them kind of their idea as to why the bids were higher. And one, everybody's busy right now. In addition to that, the building is so small that there's no economy of scale with the building, and we're limited as to the size of the building that we can put in by MDOT. They only allowed us a internal footage of about 1,600 square foot, overall out to out about 1,900 square feet.
It is small.
Yes, it is very small. And it's about, I think we evaluated it's about $500 per square foot for the building. In addition to, we've got brick facade on the building because of the historical nature of the site. It's a block building. We have some metal bowstring trusses, all of which add to the cost. Currently, we have funding available for 4 years of our block grants, or our entitlement funding of about $600,000. The city would have to match 5% of that, and MDOT would share 5% of that, so that's another $60,000. So all in, we have $660,000 to apply to this project. So we're short by $257,000 to get this built that we did not have budgeted. Tom and I talked today. I talked with a consultant. I did not make contact with MDOT, but she's been part of the conversation with our consultant as well. And the options that I've laid out here, we're very comfortable with, but that's what Tom was alluding to. We kind of need a little bit of guidance as to where we go from here, because there's some time constraints with the first option. Option 1 is we could go forth with the current bids. There are some funding mechanisms that are available to us. There is a loan that's available from MDOT to the tune of about $100,000. The interest rate on that loan is prime plus 1%, which in 2019 was 3.3% interest, and you can run that out to a maximum of 10 years. We would be required to pay the additional $157,600 from city budgets. MDOT will not approve this contract without assurance that the city has the funds to go forth. We can't say, well, we're going to do it with this in the future. We have to have the money up front. We could start this project in August, complete the project in April, and then when our entitlement funding comes available in 2020, which usually is about August, we could reimburse ourselves that $150,000 to offset the $157,000 that the city put in with city budgets. That's a possibility, keeping in mind that that's never guaranteed money. If the federal government decides not to fund the block grant stuff, that money would not come to the city. Additionally, we could get the loan and have the $100,000 loan, so that covers almost all of that gap. The loan could be paid back by entitlement funds as well. So we get $150,000 a year, so the first $150,000 could pay the $157,000. In the subsequent year, 2021, we could take the balance of the loan, pay it off with that entitlement. What this does, though, is we have projects scheduled out for 5 years at the airport, including some requirements to do a new ALP plan, and for the life of me, I can't think of what ALP is, but basically it's a property plan and a layout that we're required to update every 10 years. The price on that's about $190,000 to do all that work. We also have a project in 2022, 2023 to redo the north apron at the airport. Currently, all the pavements at the airport are in very good shape. We don't anticipate there being a problem pushing some of these projects. I just don't know if MDOT will approve us pushing these projects. So if we spend future year entitlement dollars, we are not building up that fund again because we would pretty much be in a zero balance with building of this terminal. So, that all being said, that's one option. I know it's very confusing, but so are there any questions on what I said on one?
Is the airport doing anything to try to garner funds itself?
They have been working, towards a fund to provide furnishings because none of this construction will provide any furnishings for the building. So they've been doing some pancake breakfasts and stuff, and I believe we're getting small amounts of money through those pancake breakfasts, but for this large amount of money, no.
We had also talked about sequencing conversations with the local foundations and grant sources too. We just wanted to make sure that that dovetailed into other asks that we coordinate throughout the city as well. But yeah, there is, the only scope that we've been addressing is furnishings and fixtures because we didn't know about the shortfall.
This literally, obviously the bids were open Friday afternoon. The airport board is not aware of this. And it just was happenstance. We had this meeting. I wanted to get in front of you and have this discussion. Because with the current schedule, our consultant needs to get in front of the Aeronautics Board for approval, the Michigan State Aeronautics Board, for approval of this project if we want to start this project in August.
What if we chose not to start it in August?
Well, that would be option number 2.
Okay.
I'm a step ahead of you. So option number 2 is to delay and rebid the project. I talked with the consultant about doing this. If we were to delay and rebid, which we will have conversations with our contractors to see if it would make a significant impact in their minds, I believe that it would be if we bid in late this year for maybe an April start next year, we might get some better prices. We may get more bidders, which would make it more competitive. In addition to that, we would go through the project drawings and do some value engineering. The architect has already gone through the drawings and presented some possible options for things to be removed from the project or to be reduced. Those include removing the awning and exterior lettering. If you look on the rendering, there's an awning around the perimeter of the building that says Brooks Field. That could be eliminated, which would save costs. We could remove entry vestibules, which would, instead of going into an entry, which would then be a gap between that and the inside of the building, you could remove those and you would just, if you open the door, the snow could get in or whatever. But that's an option. None of these are set. These are just options. We could remove some aluminum trim. We can remove some of the built-in cabinets, which are legitimate for MDOT to pay for. We can look at brick selections, door hardware, light fixtures, and exterior lighting to see if we can make any cuts there, and we can try to talk to mechanical, electrical, plumbing contractors to see if there's anything we can do to cut costs in those realms. The only thing on the site that really is, we have to, according to our site plan requirements, pave the parking lot, curb and gutter the parking lot, so those can't be taken out. We've got some ornamental fencing outside that can be taken out. That'd be a minimal cost, but all of those things are things we could consider. So that being said, our project would delay till a start of like April of 2020 and be finished sometime in December next year. We won't lose any entitlement dollars. Entitlement dollars are given to you in any given year. You can save them for 4 years, and then they fall off the books. We have about $7,200 in money available that we will lose in September of this year. It's minimal, but if losing that's not going to really hurt anything.
It can't be used in any way, shape, or form?
We don't have anything to use on it if we don't start a project now. We've paid everything out of entitlement dollars, and we're down to the $7,200. We can donate it to another airport who might need money we can do that kind of stuff, but in the big scheme of things, it's not that much. So we're not in jeopardy of losing any of the any of that $600,000 in entitlement until August of 2020. So we're in good shape on that front. We don't have any more projects that are eligible to use that money right now.
What are your thoughts?
I got one more option before I go to my thoughts. The third option is to cancel the project. As some of the council members will recall our conversation last year, when we proceeded into the design phase, we made a commitment to MDOT that we would build this project. If the city were to choose to not build this project, we would have to reimburse 100% of the design costs to MDOT and FAA. I checked with them today, and that would be the overall design, geotechnical, and architecture cost was $72,660. We've paid 5% of that, so less. The additional 95% would be $69,000 that we would have to pay, and we would walk away from the project. Now, we would have all the contract documents, we would have the design, we'd have all that stuff, and we could still use entitlement dollars in future years to do this project and revisit it with MDOT. But we basically have to pay for all the reimbursement to MDOT. That's the third option. We do have, if that were to be your desire, we have projects that we can do that can use these entitlement dollars so we wouldn't necessarily lose them. We have the ALP project, and we can move some of this stuff up to utilize those funds. So we're not in jeopardy of necessarily losing any of those funds. So those are the three options, and I really don't want to weigh in as to what my personal opinion is.
I mean, kids, you're the expert, we're not the experts. I
Well,
know it's dollars in the bottom line, but
Shouldn't this, though, be presented to the airport board? And
It
the
should
airport
be.
board should make the recommendation. So I hear you, Nick, but I think that's inappropriate for it to come directly from Kristen. The board does have authority here to make the recommendation. So I'd prefer we wait until city council, our next city council, try to get the airport board together, review the options, and have them make the recommendation to council.
I don't know that we have time to wait until the next airport board meeting, however.
Right, we'll have to convene a special meeting, because it's the next meeting, I think, is the night of our city
It
council
is.
meeting in May.
It is, and we've had that, we've had that conversation, Tom and I, about, I will need to reach out to Ben to find out what his drop dead date is for getting to the state aeronautics board, because I do not know that right off top. I do know that when we bid this, that he was trying to hit the May meeting at the end of May.
And that's why we wanted to bring it to you tonight, so that you could have some open discussion. You can't make a decision, but you could discuss it. And then, as Michael mentioned about the airport board, they would, I'm quite sure they would be able to do a meeting, or get some of the members there, maybe not all, but I think your discussions, I don't know, can help Michael now, or his discussions later, but
I don't know.
they're not good options.
They're not, and there's some, Tom and I, both being in this kind of business, talked about this today, don't know if we rebid if we'll get new numbers. I'm confident we'll get more bidders, because it'll be late year and they're not all committed to projects, but it's a building project, and building projects can happen year-round. It's not like a paving project where you're kind of locked into a paving season. Economy of scale was the one thing that Ben did here, that it's just a small building, so there's not a lot there.
Kristen, do you remember, do you have that one sheet that you
I
had?
do.
The steel?
Yeah.
Steel is, I'm working on a private project. It's about a $1.8 million project. We have a lot of steel, and our builder is saying, that's going to be the big item. But again, there's a lot of steel in this project. And
Yeah. The, one of the contractors gave me he must have not had it with his bid, but he emailed a vendor breakdown, estimate breakdown to us after the fact, and the paving and excavation on the site's about $150,000 of that $900,000 project. The masonry is $170,000. Steel and steel erections, $130,000. And then the next big ticket item is, that's actually, those were the three big ticket items, were the site work, the masonry, and the steel.
so you may land, if you.
Glass
went
was
to option-
$75,000.
You went to option 2, and you may take all this out, and the price still will be the same.
if we look at option 2 and do that assessment along with, what do you expect? There will obviously be then new design costs involved once those things are taken out. Is that going to be?
There may be. The city, obviously, we've got to talk to MDOT about that. If there are additional design costs, it's a shared cost. I will say that, and I was unable to get a hold of MDOT today. Apparently, SHPO is the State Historic Preservation Office. They were contacted by our consultant with regard to the design of this building. MDOT doesn't normally allow brick facades on buildings like this, but because of the historical nature of the site and the look, SHPO felt very strongly that we need to do brick on this building. So there's going to be some conversation between the environmental folks at MDOT to see if there's any other grants out there that might be able to help us with the offset on the brick side of this job. I don't know if that's a possibility, but all of that's like, what if kind of right now. We're scrambling to see what's out there. That would likely be available in the future if we were to delay a year and rebid. But I don't have those answers now. So there's some discussions going on at MDOT about that as well.
Are there any industry projections yet of where building materials costs are going? Do we expect?
Right now, everybody is busy, and everybody's building, and everybody's putting profit back in their bids because nobody can find bidders. So now they're kind of like in the catbird seat as far as we can get our profit back in that we didn't do for the last 10 years. Companies have gone away. Manpower's gone away. Companies, as far as paving, aren't wanting to put on 2 and 3 crews like they've had before because they don't want to go back through a turn down again. And a lot of the workforce left the state. So I'm hearing it on all levels, and I think it's just now economically starting to hit us because work is starting to happen and revitalization in Michigan's happening. And so now they can start putting their profit back in.
Is there an expiration date on the bids we have? So if we were to go with option number 2, and all the bids were higher, could we go back to the previous bid?
No, we cannot.
No, okay, it's a new
No.
round.
There is an expiration date, but if we were to do that, we throw these bids out and start all over. So if these folks want to rebid, they can rebid.
I hate to say that the only way this can be good is if we have a recession next year and all.
We don't want that.
I know, I'm just saying that, of course we don't want it. But I mean, the only way this is going to turn out better, I think, is if we have that recession, building just comes to a screeching halt like it did back in 2009, and then contractors are available, but then you're risking, there's just, so I don't want that to happen. I can't predict it's going to happen, but it's I hate to say that's the only way that I could see these prices really getting a lot better.
None of the stuff that the architect's looking to cut out is going to be significant. Unfortunately, my past of doing building design and doing this kind of work, the architectural finishes are where all the cost is, and people are very hesitant to cut all that stuff out.
We're not going to make up 200,000.
No, we're going to end up being over unless somebody were to come in and lowball this bid. And the only concern I have, and I'm sure Tom shares that same concern, is you maybe necessarily don't know the quality of that contractor, and then you're in a situation where they're change ordering you to death because they, found flaws in something. These bids are not far apart from each other, so I think our contract documents were solid. It's just the market is.
Well, I think, like what Michael said, we need to present this to the airport board. This design is obviously, like you said, a little bit more than what is generally done for these type of buildings, which was kind of on their direction. They wanted it to match the current terminal building that we have and hangar. So I think they need to look at all of that and decide, or recommend what they're like to do moving forward.
And I do like that you keep the concept the same, and the aesthetics and to match the historic nature of the building.
I think that's important too, I would be in favor of certainly keeping the brick facade and trying to make it match. I think some constituents might understandably be concerned about a 1,500 square foot building costing $900,000.
Well, I kind of am.
That's a lot of money for a small building, but I think, I'd be interested in, hearing what the airport board has to say, and in terms of operationally, what the urgency of the project is for them in terms of time and getting some guidance.
And if you can just let us know if there's a date, so Tricia can post that special airport board meeting.
Well, I will contact the airport board tomorrow and send them all of this information, and then I can reach out to them and see if we can. One question is our budget meeting on Saturday, would there be any possibility to maybe have them come in at the end of that meeting?
No, we're
No,
going to fill that.
we are,
spot,
okay.
yeah.
It was just a thought.
8 to noon for most of you, unless you can prove a dance recital for your 5-year-old or whatever.
Concert tickets in Detroit.
Is there anybody going to this budget meeting? Let's start there.
Well, the
Ed
other
and I
choice,
will be there.
well, the
Not
other,
Ed, not Ed.
well, the other choice could be is if we're going to try to wrap up, 11:30 noon or something, if you wanted to.
That's good.
If you wanted to have the airport board meet right after, and some of you, if you want to stay and hear their discussions, that could be another option.
Is that enough time to post the meeting?
Yeah, you need 18 hours of posting, so we've got a lot of time. But
I
again,
I don't know what your plans are Saturday, Michael. I mean, I'm going to be here, so I can stay if the airport board wants to meet on Saturday. If we can't get a date in the weeknights.
It'd be nice to have the opportunity for some of us to be there and be a part of it too, if they were willing to do that.
Well, let me reach, I'll send something out to the airport board to try to get something back. And then I will also reach out to Ben and find out what the criticality is of dates for him for the aeronautics meeting. Because maybe it's a non-issue and the May 6th meeting will work, but I will try to do that before I send out something to the airport board.
I'd also prefer that we have a member of the airport board at our May meeting when we're having this conversation too. I'm the liaison to the board. I'm not a member of the board, so it'd be better for one of them to be presenting.
Yep.
Any other comments? All right, let's call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
thank you again. What do you got?